Morning all, this is Srividya, Assistant Professor, Department of CSIT. In this session, we will see parameter passing mechanisms in C. So, this is the overview of the session. Parameter passing mechanisms in C. So, here we will discuss call by value and call by reference methods. So, what is call by value and what is call by reference? So, parameter passing in C. When a function gets executed in the program, the execution control is transferred from the calling function to the called function. So, what it is, while discussing the concept of functions and categories of functions, we have seen whenever a function call is initiated, control will jump from the calling function to the called function. So, what is calling function? Whatever we are writing inside the main function, the parameters, whatever the arguments we are passing here, that is called the calling function. And whenever the compiler sees that function call, it immediately jumps from the calling function to the called function, means where the function definition is exactly written, means the user defined section, exactly the code which we write, and finally comes back to the calling function. So, when the execution control is transferred from the calling function to the called function, it may carry one or number of data values. So, these data values are called the parameters. Parameters are the data values that are passed from the calling function to the called function. In C, there are two types of parameters. They are as follows: actual parameters and formal parameters. So, what are actual parameters and what are formal parameters? The actual parameters are the parameters that are specified in the calling function. Suppose this is your function declaration, void sum. Let's take the return type as int. This is your function declaration. And this is your main section. So, this is the sample example, sum of a comma b. So, function declaration, and inside the main function, function call, and outside the main function, int sum of int comma int. And inside we will write your user defined code. So, the parameters that are specified in the calling function are called the actual parameters, and the parameters that are declared inside the called function, when a function gets executed, the copy of the actual parameter values are copied into the formal parameters. So, here when I pass these parameters in my program in the main function, a copy of those parameters will be passed from the calling function to the called function. So, the parameters that we use in the function definition section, if you understand the concept of functions, so there we have seen all the categories. So, the parameters that we are using in the function definition are called formal parameters. So, what we will do there? A copy of data, the parameters that we are using here in the calling function. So, it will go into the definition part. So, they are called, a copy will be sent from the calling function to the called function. So, the parameters that used in the function definition are called the formal parameters. So, in C programming language, there are two methods to pass the parameters. So, there are two methods. How to pass the parameters? We have two methods. One is call by value and other one is call by reference. In call by value parameter passing method, the copy of the actual parameter values are copied to the formal parameters, and these formal parameters are used in the called function. The changes made in the formal parameters does not affect the values of the actual parameters. So, what it is? Suppose take the example int, I have taken the name of the function int a comma int b. Int a comma int b, main section int a equal to 10, int a equal to 10, int b equal to 20. So, what is the name of the function? Func, we have taken a comma b, the values of the formal parameters, actual parameters. Printf percentile d comma a comma b. So this is your calling function. So here I have declared a comma b are the inputs. So I have passed the parameters int. You can pass here data types. Two parameters I have passed, int a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and this is your function declaration and this is your function call. Means calling function. These are the actual parameters. So now, this function call is initiated. I'll write the function definition here. func of int a comma int b. A is equals to 5, b is equals to 6, printf percentile d comma a comma b. So this is what example for call by value. So now see, int func of int comma int. So we have declared the function above the main function and two values we have defined, int a equal to 10, b equal to 20, func of a comma b. So these are your parameters, and what is the syntax for call? Function call, function name and the list of parameters. So here I have taken two variables a and b. So I have passed those parameters here. Now this is the function call. Whenever the function call is initiated, the compiler or the control will jump from the calling function to the called function. This is your called function. So int func of those values will be copied here. So 10 and 20. But after here, I have again initialized the value of a to 5 and b to c. So now what should be your output? Initial values of a and b are 10 and 20. So the same values are copied from the calling function to the called function. So it was copied here. But here inside here, I have changed the values from 5 to c. Now I want only 5 and 6 to be printed on your screen. I don't want 10 and 20. But here what output you will get? In the first case, first the control jumps from the calling function to the called function. So here I have written one printf statement. Printf percentile d comma a comma b. So here I will get the value of a as 5 and value of b as 6. Value of a as 5 and value of b as 6. But here I have written one more printf statement. Printf percentile d comma a comma b. So in this case what output I will get? Actually I am expecting to get 5 and 6. But will 5 and 6 will be printed again? No, 5 and 6 will not print, 10 and 20 only will print. Why? Here we have passed the parameters from the calling function to the called function, 10 and 20 was changed. So a copy of these values were passed here. But here I have changed the values. I want a to be 5 and b to be 6. So whatever changes I am doing here, I am expecting those changes to reflect in the main section. But it is not done. See, you will get the answer as 10 and 20 only. This is call by value. Whatever the changes you are doing in the definition part or in the called function, that values or that may not affect or reflect in the main section. Okay, so here I want to print 5 and 6, but I got only 10 and 20 as the previous answer. So whatever the changes I have made, that was not reflected or affected in the calling function. It will send back a and b, but the values of a and b are 10 and 20. Only those values will be printed. You will get 10 and 20 as the answer. The actual parameter values remains the same. No change will be made. So this is call by value. Whatever the changes you are doing in the called function, that doesn't affect in the calling function, or from whatever the changes you are made in the function definition, that will not reflect in the function declaration section in the main section. Next, so what should we do? Next we have another concept, call by reference. So we have this method of call by reference. In call by reference parameter passing method, the memory location addresses of the actual parameters is copied to the formal parameters. This address is used to access the memory locations of the actual parameters in the called function. In this method of parameter passing, the formal parameters must be pointer variables. This means the call by reference parameter passing method, the address of the actual parameters is passed. So how it is done? So in the previous example, what we have seen, whatever the changes I have done in the called function, that doesn't affect in the calling function. So instead of that, what we can do? You can send the addresses. So int func of, again in this call by reference method main function, let's take the same variables. Int a is equals to 10, int b is equals to 20. So what we will do, instead of sending this normal variables, we will take the pointer variables. Printf %d comma a comma b. Next int. This is what the same example we have seen in the previous case for call by value. Now I am writing the same thing for call by reference. So I want whatever the changes I have done in the calling function, that should be reflected in the calling function. So here a is 10, let's consider a is at 1000 location, and b is 20, let's consider again b is at 2000 location. And we have taken one more this function declaration, that is func. Func also has two variables a and b, which is 5 and 6. So what a contains? A contains the address of a and b contains the address of another variable. Let's consider that is at 4000. So this is how your memory will be representation of your memory. So here, instead of passing the normal variables, we have passed the pointers. So what is a pointer variable? Pointer holds the address of another variable. So now a is 10, that is at the location 1000. Now b is 20, that is at the location 2000. So printf %d. So here what you will write? So this is your function call. So address of a comma address of b. So in the previous example call by value, what we will write in the function call? Just name of the function a comma b, the list of parameters. Okay. So now instead of sending the values in the calling function, I will send the address of a, address of b. So what a pointer holds? Pointer holds the address of another variable. Address of another variable. Address of a comma address of b. So like this. So by checking that location, you can easily update the value. So here, whatever the changes I have made, these are the pointer variables now. %d comma. So here I will get the answer as 5 and 6. And here the changes I have made 10 and 20 are the changes that I have done. 10 and 20 are my original values. Now I have changed values are 5 and 6. So here I will get the answer as 5 and 6 in this case. So that values will be passed back to the calling function. So address of a is what? Address of a here in this address, it is 3000. So the value that is located at 3000 is what? 5. So here you will get 5 and 6. So this is call by reference. In call by reference method, in call by reference, the address of the actual parameters is passed to the calling function and is received by the formal parameters, which is pointers, because pointer holds the addresses of the variables, another value. Whenever we use these formal parameters in the call function, they directly access the memory locations of the actual parameters. So one more sample program. So this is swapping of two numbers by using the call by value method. Hash include stdio.h, void swap. Here we have taken void as the return type, swap int because we are swapping for two numbers. So you will pass the two data types int and int. Next main function int a comma b, a equal to 10, b equal to 20. Printf before swapping a equals to %d, b is equals to %d, a comma b. And we have passed the parameters. Here this is the calling function. What is the name of the function? Name of the function is swap, swap of a comma b. After swap a comma b, again this is the function definition part, void swap int a comma int b, int temp is a variable that is declared. So int t. So this is how you will do the swapping, right? Int equal to a equal to b and b equal to t. So here after swapping 10 and 20 are your initial values. After swapping what we should get? We should get 20 and 10, right? But whatever the changes we are doing in the definition section, that is not reflected in the calling function. See the outputs, 10 and 20 I got in the main section or in the calling function. And again after swapping we should get 20 and 10, but I got again 10 and 20 because it doesn't affect whatever the changes I have done here, it doesn't affect in the calling function. So that's why we will use the pointers and we will pass the address in the calling function. So based on that address, control will or the pointers, that location address data will be retrieved easily. So here we will see this example by using the call by reference, swapping of two numbers using call by reference. Void swap int, see pointers have passed in the parameters int a comma b, a equal to 10, b equal to 20. And in the calling function, in the previous case, we have passed just the normal parameters, but we will pass now the addresses of those variables, address of A and address of B, address of A and address of B, some 1000 or 2000, whatever the address that we will pass. Next, in point swap, int pointer A, int pointer B, int temp t equal to pointer variable. Swapping is done between the pointer variables. What is a pointer variable? Pointer holds the address of another variable. So now obviously 20 and 10 because it knows the address of the variable. So it will swap. Whatever the changes we will do here, that changes will be reflected in the calling function. See the output 10 and 20, 20 and 10. After swapping, you should get 20 and 10. In the previous case, we got the same values, the original values 10 and 20. See here we got the output. 10 and 20 are your original input values. So after swapping, you will get 20 and 10. So this is how you can do with the pointers. So that is parameter passing techniques, call by value and call by reference. In the next session, we will see some examples like storage classes in C.